Good evening, folks. This is the Factivist report for Sunday, the 18th of September. Who the funk we'd have got here so quick? Almost November. Get on your voting shoes. Here's Dave.
Okay, so everything's going crazy all of a sudden. Hold on. Let me turn off my phone. So next week, we will be talking more about reproductive rights. I'll do a little bit of a lead in at the end, but I want to talk a little bit about more of the things that have been going on. Also, just reiterate that the Republicans at this point, you can't reason with them because they're not reasonable, and they're condescending and talking down to either their constituents or to their fellow Congress people, and at worst, they're violent. So the first thing I want to say is that just governors and U.S. House reps and U.S. senators, that's not the whole ball game. A big issue too is the state legislatures. So if we don't get some of these governorships back, hopefully we can break some of what's called the trifectas. I talked about it before, that right this second, before the governor election, Florida has a trifecta right now. You have DeSantis as the governor, and you have a Republican House and Senate in the state legislature, and you also pretty much every single like the Secretary of State and Attorney General and all of that are Republican at this point.
I also believe that you don't elect the Secretary of State in Georgia.
I don't think you do.
He appoints the Secretary of State.
I believe he does.
And that's scary because the Secretary of State controls the election. And that's another position that's important. See, the thing is, in previous years, the local and the state legislatures, all of that stuff has been pretty much like the second tier. You know, people paid a little attention, not too much attention. Nobody really paid attention to attorney generals too much or secretary of states too much. We are now not in the position where we can do that anymore. We are in a really, really seriously bad position if the Republicans take power back in 2022. I can't emphasize this enough. This isn't histrionics. It isn't, drama. This isn't a drill, okay? They are, almost worse since Trump left office. They have not let up one iota. If everybody thought that if he was gone, everything was going to be all better, they better think again, okay?
And if you're worried about reproductive rights for your daughter, for yourself, for your wife, contraception becoming illegal, interracial marriage down the line, if you yourself are gay, or you have a son, daughter, sister, brother who's gay, and they're worried about gay rights, all of this stuff is now, especially once Roe v. Wade was completely obliterated with the Dobbs decision, it's all left up to the states now. So now you have the state legislatures are extremely important. And then you see also in Florida, you have the school boards that are extremely important.
Yeah, that's another thing we need to pay attention to, the school boards, because the right wing is hell bent on destroying the public school system. I promise you.
Yeah, their goal is to dismantle it.
It is, absolutely.
They want to keep the schools that are more understanding of their right-wing Christian agenda.
Yep.
And then the ones that don't comply, they're going to go for those first.
Right.
Like, with the teachers that are pro-LGBTQ and the teachers and school board people that are trying to protect these kids, and they're going to try and fight that.
There were a couple of teachers that wrote articles recently from the state of Florida. And they said, you has what, 9,500 openings there? She
Something
said-
like that, yeah.
One of the teachers said it has nothing to do with the pay. It has everything to do with the way they're being forced to teach.
Yeah.
Everything. So,
And what they're being forced to teach.
right,
You know, they're putting in religious indoctrination stuff into their, trying to put God, force God on the children, and then point the finger and say, oh, these gay people are indoctrinating our children. No, they're trying to teach them some humanity and the
Right.
facts.
well, he actually, DeSantis is using a Christian small right-wing Christian college in Michigan
Yeah.
as a consultant on his curriculum.
Right.
So,
And Marjorie Taylor Greene, we just did a short show on it. She herself just blatantly said she's looking to dismantle the Department of Education if they don't comply with certain values, which means straight values.
right,
I mean,
So-
she's real close to start chanting blood and soil.
right,
She's real close.
yep. She is.
So here is another source. It's called 270 to win. Now, it's not just about the presidential elections. The what I like about this one is it talks about the state legislatures. And I'm just going to leave this here for the most part, but what I think is especially important with this is it shows the different trifectas. You have 23 Republican states that have a trifecta and 14 Democratic states that right now have a trifecta, which means the governor, the state Senate, and the state House are all that party. So I'll show that. So here we go. And you see where all this is red
Okay, so we don't see anything.
because I'm not sharing it like a knucklehead. Hold on. Hold on. There you go. So the red is trifectas for the Republicans, and the blue is trifecta. So obviously what you're trying to do is hold on to those houses and senates and the governorships that are still blue and break up some of these trifectas, either by winning governor races. Charlie Crist has a real shot at winning Florida.
He does.
Abbott has less of a shot, but still has a real shot.
By the way, Beto is on the road for 48 days now, 70 venues. So, whatever. But Massachusetts has a chance to be put in the blue zone. By
Yep.
the way, I'm looking forward to that. Although I have to commend Charlie Baker. I have, Charlie Baker is the last rational Republican standing, as far as I'm concerned, and he's going away. So
Right.
he's retiring. So
Ohio actually has a shot. There are a
Jim
couple.
Jordan needs to go. I mean,
He
just
does.
flat out needs to go. I mean, wake up, people.
And by the way, Georgia has a real shot. That's the other one.
Yep.
We can turn Georgia. We can kick Kemp out, who recently said that he would consider a bill banning contraception, by the way,
Right.
which we will get into. But New Hampshire, you can at least try to break that up. So there's certain ones.
Well,
Virginia,
right now, New Hampshire is Maggie Hassan just took the lead. By
right?
the way,
But we're
over
talking about
Golda.
state. Now we're not talking about the U.S. House. We're not talking about the U.S. House reps. We're actually talking about state assemblies and the governorship. So we're talking more about the governor races. But that governor race, wasn't that the guy who is being? He's the one.
Actually, it's Sununu in New Hampshire. I don't think he's.
Oh no. Who was I thinking of? That is was it Connecticut? I can't remember, but we'll talk about him later. The guy who was, oh, no, he's the guy who's running against Hassan.
Baldock is running against
Baldock, yeah,
Maggie Hassan.
that's him.
Yeah.
He refused to disclose his financials.
Right.
But yeah, those are the U.S. and the U.S. House obviously is important also, but the state legislatures are important when it comes to state law. So governors, you know, we'll see what we can do with the governorships because, you know, we have Michigan as a real fight for abortion rights there.
Gretchen Whitmer needs to win.
She needs to win and keep that at least split. You can't have a trifecta in Michigan. Minnesota, you know, so Pennsylvania, the legislatures are going to stay probably Republican, but there is a real shot for a Democrat to win that
seat.
You can't have
Dr. Oz. Jesus.
No, Mastriano.
Yeah.
For governor. And yeah.
Dr.
So
Oz is the Senate, but we don't want him either.
right. But he's and I'm trying not to, so he's the US
Right.
Senate. So we're talking about state, Senate, and state. So we have the federal, who you know, they worry about federal law, but they represent the states. And then you have the state Senate and state House.
We need to keep Carrie Lake out of Arizona.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
She cannot win that governorship. She is I don't even know how any other way to describe her except a crackhead. You know, sorry, but she's crazy.
Right. So let's just start. And I'm going to try every time that I introduce a new dirtbag, I'm going to show if he's running, if he's running in a race, who's running against him, what's the situation, etc. So this is GOP lawmaker calls witness boo at a hearing and prompts Ocasio-Cortez apologizing to that witness. Now this is basically Clay Higgins talking about
fucking Louisiana. I rest my case. I mean, I love New Orleans, you know, but that's as far as I go in Louisiana. You know, anything beyond there.
Right.
I mean,
Louisiana has.
I just hear banjos. I hear deliverance every time I see certain states next to somebody's name.
Right. Now, he's talking about the use of petroleum, the use of gas and oil. And this witness was talking about how we need to reduce and all of that. And you know, honey, don't you realize that your cell phone case is blah, 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 and your glasses are, you know, plastic and petroleum products, and calling her boo and all this nonsense. He has a point about the usage, but there are ways to reduce that. And he obviously he's a slave to fossil fuels. He's also running in Louisiana's 3rd congressional district. And this Louisiana has kind of a ranked choice voting kind of a thing. There is a nonpartisan primary election. Instead of the election being November 8th, this primary is November 8th. Let's just, for argument's sake, say Clay Higgins gets more than 50%. He wins the election outright. If you have a bunch of people with under 50%, the top 2 will run off against each other, whatever the party. So Lessie LeBlanc is the Democrat who has the best chance. So I left this here. You can check her Twitter page out. She is an activist. I didn't see any previous legislative experience. There's not much about her, but it looks like this guy's probably going to win.
Well, it's fucking Louisiana.
because it's Louisiana.
Because it's Louisiana.
So we're going to move on. We spoke about Jackson, Mississippi last week, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. Mississippi Governor Tate.
This guy's a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
He really
Tate
is.
Reeves mocked Jackson at an event after more than 150,000 of the city residents had no clean water. Now, this is, he went to an event, and let me get down here. So this is what he said at Hattiesburg when he was at an event. I've got to tell you, it's a great day to be in Hattiesburg. It's also, as always, a great day to not be in Jackson, as he spoke at a groundbreaking event in southern Mississippi City on Friday. I feel like I should take off my emergency management director hat, leave it in the car, and take off my public works director hat and leave it in the car.
Yeah, especially since you contributed to the fucking mess, you clown. Sorry. I just can't.
Once again, this is about an infrastructure problem. This is about issues with the water storage system and the piping. Doesn't have anything to do with anything else. This is man-made, something that he knew about for forever. I don't want to hear it. Okay, and now he's.
I don't want to hear that it's Joe Biden's fault either. I don't want to hear any of that shit. It's funny how to the Republicans, it's all about states' rights until the state fucks something up. Then it becomes the problem of whoever the Democratic person is in charge.
Right. Now, this is not a surprise, and we talked about it before. Racism seen as root of water crisis in the Mississippi capital. How could that possibly be? Well, you have an old white man governor making jokes about it while a predominantly black city is being poisoned. So what the hell? How are you supposed to take it? So, however, Tate Reeves is not up for re-election now, but Tate Reeves' worst 2023 nightmare: how Mississippi's decision to remove a Jim Crow provision from its constitution could unseat one of America's most unpopular governors.
Good.
So, thanks to a racially progressive update to the state constitution, Reeves could soon face another unprecedented problem, a crapshoot of electoral politics in which the majority party incumbent is in real danger of losing the governor's mansion. He's one of the most unpopular governors in America right now, and for good reason.
Yeah, so is Abbott.
Yes. So next we go to another one of our and this guy is potentially going to be up for a primary, Tate Reeves.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's a shot in Mississippi to unseat him with a Democratic governor. I don't know. But you got to run somebody.
I just want to say this: we need to find a Democratic person to run. Okay.
You have to.
The problem with with these states is the voter population is overwhelmingly not white. Okay. And
right.
we need to get a candidate in there, and we need to motivate these people to go out and vote. They really need to go out and vote, because the continual, not participating in this thing this is how bad people get elected, is when good people choose not to participate in the voting process.
So I'm going to nutshell this issue with DeSantis and the 50 people that he put on an airplane and sent to Martha's Vineyard, thinking strategically and scumbaggeringly, if that's a word, that the people in Martha's Vineyard were just going to ignore these illegal immigrants.
Actually, he thought they were going to be outraged.
They were going to be upset, right?
Tony little doorstep, and it didn't work out for him so well.
No, it didn't. He spent $650,000 on this, and by the way, they have I believe around $12 million earmarked for stuff like this, just so you know. Here is why it is a problem. These immigrants were lied to. They were told that they were going to have jobs, that they were going to have housing, that they were told what to do, who to file with, so that they could stay in the country, and they were given misinformation. So eventually, and by the way, they were given false addresses so that eventually they would be deported.
Right, because some of these people, the addresses they gave, hundreds and thousands of miles away from where they are. And they would have to have contacted their local authorities by Monday. And this was done deliberately to see that they were removed from the country. I'm going to tell you, this guy is, I can't even begin to tell you what a dirtball this guy is.
So what happened is these people landed, and immediately the people in Martha's Vineyard, Charlie Baker was activated, by the way. He helped find an alternate site where they could go. They immediately sprang into action, helped them as best as they could. They got lawyers involved, they got the press involved, and now we have
They fed them.
calls.
They fed them, and they actually also got Spanish-speaking students from the schools to help
Right.
act as translators.
As translators. And almost immediately, lawyers got involved, and they're doing some pro bono work for these people to help them. Now, I don't have it right now because I was having issues with bandwidth or whatever, but there is a video. It's fantastic. It's a YouTube video from the Miami Herald. 2 lawyers spoke of the situation, basically the same kind of stuff, but they were more eloquent than I'm being. But there's a clear case that the Department of Justice has to get involved and look into potential criminal charges against DeSantis. Okay, and by the way, now that that's in the works, no one else has to get involved, and the DOJ is not going to disclose what they're finding.
Right.
By the way, if they find anything else. I'm going to say one thing, because I saw this about 6 different times in these different articles that I was reading about whatever it was, like with Marjorie Taylor Greene and her threats on Twitter and all that other stuff. When you see the FBI is investigating the situation, or this is under police investigation, it's going to take some time. The DOJ, if the DOJ gets involved, it's going to take some time. Oh, they're just ignoring it. No, they're doing their investigation.
And by the way, they're not going to talk to the media and disclose every ounce of evidence that they have just to put all of us in the comfort zone. Okay. They can't. That's not the way this shit works. This isn't Law and Order SVU. This is not television news. This is not television programming. This is real world shit.
And by the way, if they did, DeSantis could just ooze under the freaking door and attempt to explain things away.
Right.
Okay, so you may say, well, this doesn't seem like a big deal. First off, no one was notified. Officials weren't notified. No one in Martha's Vineyard was notified. They just dumped them there. Second off, they lied to these people, told them that there would be jobs and housing available, and that they would have a special gift, whatever the hell that would, meant, available to them. So they had a simple map, showing them where they were going to go, and no translators whatsoever. So when all of this went down, when you had people eventually talking through translators, they said they thought that they were going to a more urban area because they were, thought they were going to have urban type jobs. They had no idea. And on top of that, forgot about this one. Some of these people were recruited to recruit more immigrants. So there's a lot of articles here. The opinion piece from the New York Times is pretty good because it basically shows the mindset that the Republicans have disdain for these immigrants that figured that the rich people, the rich Democrats would have the same disdain, and it blew up in their face.
And by the way, let me just say something about Kevin Sorbo while I'm on this subject.
Okay.
He falsely stated on Twitter that the state of Massachusetts moved them out. They did not. The state of Massachusetts moved them off the island to Falmouth, Massachusetts, where there is sufficient housing. There is not a lot of, it's an island. Martha's Vineyard is an island. It's not equipped to handle housing like that. It's just not. And
Right.
It needed to move to a place where they had services and people who could help these people beyond what they were getting on Martha's Vineyard.
Right. Now, DeSantis is trying to make this into a Biden's immigration policy fallacy, or problems, blah blah blah. No, I'm sorry.
No, it isn't, because these people are coming here. Some of these people walked through other nations to get away from what they were involved in Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Some of these people had injuries.
Right.
Okay. And it's amazing to me. The bottom line is, in America today, the right wing doesn't even want legal immigration. So we can stop talking about all of this nonsense about border, whatever it is, and all the bullshit and all the politics. Let's put it all aside, because
Right.
The fact of the matter is, the right wing and the GOP doesn't even want legal immigration. They don't want anyone here other than white people. I'm going to say it out. If you want to argue with me, you can, but I'm going to win every time. So, it's a fact. All right. When they talk about going back to 1776, they're talking about going back to white America.
And by the way, I want to make this point too. All of these people, as Deb said, they came from Venezuela. They were in Texas. They weren't, and DeSantis was saying, oh, eventually they would have gone to Florida.
He's
How?
so full of shit.
He's full of it. He misallocated funds, by the way, about over 600,000, and they have $12 million earmarked for moving immigrants.
Maybe he wants to spend that money on his fucking state, the sinkhole, the great sinkhole.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is, how is this helping anyone? It's not helping anyone. By the way, it's tying up federal departments, because he didn't let anyone know. He didn't communicate with anybody what he was doing.
Well, they don't want to do that. They're shipping people to Kamala Harris's house.
Right.
Okay, come on. They're going to notify you. This is the GOP. They're not going to notify anybody. They've been running roughshod over the rule of law now for 4, 5, 6 years, and they're going to keep doing it until someone puts the fucking hammer down.
And there's a couple other things. Kevin Sorbo said that. Also, Ted Cruz said it as well.
Yeah. Well,
which is why they don't want Charlie Baker to continue to be in Republican politics, because Charlie Baker helped relocate these people within the state.
Right.
And he's going to call bullshit on all of these people. Just so you know. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It is.
So
it's a perfect example of man's inhumanity to man, in my opinion.
Yep. And it's our message to them is, we are not a sanctuary state. Number one, no shit. Number two, they weren't in your state. So I'm just,
Guess what? Massachusetts, we are. Thank you.
yes. Oh, and that was the final point I want to make on this. I don't want to hear one word, not one word about the Democrats, whether it be AOC, Charlie Crist, anybody making this into a political football. DeSantis was the one that started this stupid stunt, and he's got to live by it.
The GOP is
He's gotta live
making
with
just about everything a political fucking football. So if we, throw the ball back at them, tough shit. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Right. We did what they thought that we weren't going to do, which is be human,
Right.
and it blew up in his face. So now he's going to have to take the consequences potentially for being a dirtbag. And by the way, anyone in the state of Florida that is upset about high taxes or whatever, this is the kind of crap that he does in your state to make state costs that much higher. So that's that's my soapbox for the day. But I want to finish this. So the whole point of doing all this is to show you the Republicans aren't looking to help anybody. They're not. They're looking to help themselves, maybe. They're just looking to stir shit up and maybe make some money here and there. So here's my final little, this is a little bit for next week. I wanted to introduce some of this because another thing that the Republicans are very good at doing is obfuscating and just flat out lying.
Actually, lying is the only thing they do with any amount of competence.
Right. So we have Jim Justice just signed into West Virginia law a full abortion ban. So abortion is finally banned in West Virginia. So
Courtesy of another bloated white man.
Right. So here is his comment. I think the criminal penalties, the whole bill goes into effect, I think 90 days. Is that right? He just signed a damn bill. He just signed the bill. Okay. After an aide corrected him, Justice told the press conference, the bill is effective immediately. The criminal penalties are effective 90 days from today. So it's absolutely wild the governors are not required to read the pieces of legislation they're signing. There's reason and logic behind this. I absolutely signed it. I'm proud of it. Although he doesn't know the freaking details of the bill. So the bill outlaws abortion, except in cases of rape or incest after 8 weeks. And by the way, a lot of this, most of this has to be corroborated with a police report. So you can't just say I've been raped.
Right.
Okay.
It only counts if you have gone to the police and if they can provide documentation. Fucking
Right.
ridiculous. I'm sorry, but you know what? I just can't even. I mean, the nightmares. Let's all put aside for 5 minutes. The fact that abortion is an unpleasant thing, and nobody wants to make that decision. Okay, that's a fact. Okay, sometimes it can't be avoided, but there are women now who are traveling. Who actually, one woman actually had gone on a ventilator because the fetal heartbeat hadn't stopped and they couldn't treat her miscarriage and she got sepsis. This is going to affect people's health in a way that most people don't even fucking think when they come out and pass bills like this. It's just going to be, we're going to be an abortion and save lives and everything's going to be sunshine and happy. These people are fucking unbelievable that they never take into consideration what the ramifications are of the actual bill that they're passing. There are now women getting sick, some of them dying, because they're carrying, fetuses that have no chance of surviving, but they have to wait until the heartbeat stops before they can be treated for their illness. It's absolutely unconscionable and ridiculous that this is going on in 2022. If you don't want an abortion, don't have an abortion, okay? But for fuck's sake, okay, when you start taking away people's rights, it's over the top for me. All right, we have a Supreme Court for the first time in history that is proud of taking away someone's rights instead of expanding rights. That's what they're there to do, is expand people's rights, not take them away.
By the way, our goal is for this midterm is hopefully to get enough senators to get rid of the possibility of Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin being a real, factor, and possibly bypassing the filibuster to get a couple of more Supreme Court justices in to cut this shit out. To balance it out. And I'm not talking about 4, okay, because then you get into, I'm talking about 2, because they held up Merrick Garland and then you rammed through Amy Coney Barrett. That's fair. Okay. 2, that is fair. We're still behind, but then maybe
you have a better chance of swinging.
You have a better chance of swinging, and maybe, just maybe, you can get rid of one of the dirtbags. I know it's an outside chance to get rid of Clarence Thomas.
Maybe not.
It's maybe
that all
maybe
depends
not.
on where the whole thing with
I know
Ginny goes, because now it's even bigger than it was.
Right, but one step at a time.
Yeah.
The first thing is that we have to get a solid Senate majority, and then we got to get people on board to do that.
Right.
As I said, I'm not looking for 4. I'm looking for 2.
Right.
So I want to read these 2 paragraphs in full. The bill outlaws abortion except in case of rape or incest after 8 weeks, pregnancy for adults, and 14 weeks for minor, only if they reported the assault to law enforcement at least 2 days before they have an abortion. An abortion provider must be provided the police report. And by the way, it doesn't include, as Deb said, stillbirth or ectopic pregnancy or whatever else.
By the way, when you're talking 8 weeks, or you're talking 6 weeks in some cases, you actually have 2 weeks, because of the way the baby is aged, is the age is determined, is not just from the moment the sexual act happens and the conception occurs. Okay. Right. That's not how it is done medically. And actually, there's a very good article out there that shows how they do it, and they do it graphically.
Right.
So what people need to understand is when it's 6 and 8 weeks, these women actually have 2 fucking weeks to get an abortion.
Right.
2, okay.
And try to get time off of work. Try to, I'm just saying.
First of all, most women don't even know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. Most women do not know. Okay.
Right. This is from Alyssa Clements, Director of Public Affairs for Planned Parenthood, South Atlantic. This is a statement directly to Jezebel. There is nothing more extreme than a law that strips people of their freedom. The limited exceptions in this bill are so narrow and tightly restricted that it will make it extremely difficult for people in vulnerable situations, including minors and survivors of sexual assault, to get the care that they need. And I know from knowing people in West Virginia, from having family members in West Virginia, we're talking about people oftentimes of poverty. Oftentimes they have, a history of a drug addiction, alcohol abuse. So there's that on top of it. Okay. Depression. This is a depressed state, except for shitbags like Jim Justice. So.
And Joe Manchin. Sorry.
And Joe Manchin. Oh, here's another one. He just slipped out on this one. And this is another, Jezebel's doing some good work too, especially when it comes to this kind of thing. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signals he's open to banning Plan B contraception.
Now, does
You can
everybody
take-
know what Plan B is? Does everybody understand that Plan B is not an abortion pill? Does everybody understand that? I'm not sure people do. I'm not certainly sure that these white men do. What
It's
Plan B does,
contraceptive. It's a
Right.
contraceptive.
right, it prevents
though
the
it's
woman
not-
from ovulating, okay?
And it's not supposed to be used repeatedly, and it's not used repeatedly.
Right,
Women use it when they need it,
right.
and they should have the right to use it when they need it without the government interfering, without Republicans getting involved, trying to prosecute people and prosecute doctors and prosecute fucking children. 10-year-olds should be able to get an abortion. If they can be raped by their fathers and their brothers and strangers, they should not have to be forced. I mean, don't even get me started. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a rant.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's just
It's
like
unconscious.
that's
It's
why we need
ridiculous.
to promote Stacey Abrams as much as we can, because she's going up against Brian Kemp, and Brian Kemp has already been outed in an audio that was released of him talking about how they're going to ban contraceptives.
Right. This is what we're talking. Yep. This is what we're talking
This is
about.
not a conspiracy theory. They are doing this. They are planning this, and they're not asking permission.
And by the way, let me just tell you this. I can tell you this from speaking to somebody who used Plan B, and I'm not going to reveal who that might be. You really don't feel good when you take Plan B. It's not something you want
don't.
to be
You
doing
get
very
sick.
frequently.
You'll get sick.
You get sick on Plan B.
Yeah.
You
By
know,
the way,
It's not like a Tic Tac where you take it. Oh, this is going to be good.
right.
Right.
No.
Right. But this is a contraception.
It shows how little they respect women and how little they think of us. That's why they put out the lie saying that, oh, we wanted to abort our babies after they're halfway being birthed.
That's,
I mean,
that's
it's just
bullshit.
crazy.
That's
It's
just
crazy.
bullshit.
And these abortion advocates and doctors have said continuously that if there is an abortion towards the end of a pregnancy, it's because of a disaster, a horrific event that has made them have to get an abortion. Oh,
Okay, so there's a couple things I
So
want to say.
ridiculous.
First off, this has nothing to do with abortion. This is preventative care. Second off, and I've talked about this in the past, and Deb's talked about this in the past. I'm not one of those guys, by the way. Don't hurt me. You have a history of males in this country being, irresponsible when it comes to this. If you
Oh, please,
are,
tell me about it. Yeah.
if you're sexually active as a man, you're a stud. If you're sexually active as a woman, you're a slut.
Right.
That's just, that's that whole crap. But then if you're sexually active and you get a girl pregnant, you can walk away.
Yep.
If you're a girl and you get pregnant now, you got to fly to another state, possibly.
As you're talking, I'm looking at this headline on this story. Have you seen this one? Louisiana woman forced to carry skullless fetus traveled 1,400 miles for an abortion. You know
No, I
what?
didn't.
The fuck? Okay?
they said she's got to carry it to bury it.
Just
I mean-
unfucking believable. I mean, it's just, it goes on and on and on and on. And, again, I'm going to just say one other thing too, because I want to talk about condoms for a minute.
Yeah.
If you're one of those guys who doesn't want to use a condom because it doesn't feel natural, you know what? Fuck you, because that's not just about contraception. That's about sexually transmitted diseases and
Right.
AIDS. All right? Put a sock on it, boys. Jesus Christ.
This just to me seems like the dehumanizing of women. It's going into that freaking what was that show again?
Which one?
The show
The Handmaid's Tale?
The Handmaid's Tale. It goes
Yeah,
into
which is
Handmaid's Tale.
incubators.
Yeah. You're becoming broodmares. They're
Yeah.
making females broodmares. It's disgusting. It's not your business, Brian Kemp. It's not your business. It's the business of the female, the partner, and the doctor. That's it.
No,
That's
this
it.
is gonna kill women, and not just women, but non-binary people. This is going to affect everybody.
It is.
They don't care. They hate liberals so much that they're so blinded by hate that they can't even self-reflect even for a moment.
Now, I want to say that, and don't get me wrong, Lindsey Graham is a shitbag, but I want to thank him for one thing, for telegraphing him being a shitbag.
Right.
He
at
made
least
Charlie Kirk mad. He's
Good.
like, you dumb fuck.
no, they are furious at Lindsey
And you know
Graham
what,
because
though? We need to pay attention to that because, they're upset about it, so they know that it's going to hurt them.
Yep.
well, the thing is, no, Lindsey Graham is absolutely right. If they get, and he said this, if the Republicans get a majority in the House and the Senate right now, you can kiss abortion goodbye. You can kiss contraception goodbye. You can kiss gay marriage goodbye. You can kiss all of this goodbye. You can kiss your rights goodbye.
You can, because anybody who's got, like 6 weeks ago, Lindsey Graham was saying, Lindsey Graham was saying that, same-sex marriage is safe. Now Lindsey Graham's saying same-sex marriage should be left to the states, which means in order for it to be left to the states, same-sex marriage has to be overturned in the Supreme Court. So
They're liars. They lie.
They lie all the time. That's the only thing they do with any amount of regularity. It's the only thing they do that they're really good at is they're good at lying.
Yep.
They lie.
And asking for money.
And the whole reason,
lying for money.
The whole reason that Fox News, that all of these Republicans, that Mitch McConnell is jumping on Lindsey Graham is that for 2 seconds he's telling the truth.
Right.
And by the way, Lindsey Graham is a shitbag when it comes to Israeli policy, when it comes to any Republican policy. He has been on the wrong side of everything, but he told the truth here. And thank you, Lindsey Graham, for being a shitbag, but being truthful about being a shitbag. By the way, Deb already did a show on this. Please check the old shows. This national ban on abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy reduces the number of weeks for all the states that have limitations past 15 weeks. It doesn't raise
In other words, the states that now have 6 weeks and 8 weeks, they don't get to go up to 15. Right. They stay at 6 and 8 weeks. It doesn't affect those states that have a more stringent ban.
It's creating a ceiling.
Right. What this bill does is it penalizes the blue states. New York, where it's 24 weeks. Massachusetts, where it's 24 weeks. It's penalizing the blue states that have more than 15 weeks window.
They're strategic when they try to hurt certain cities.
Yeah,
like how DeSantis is gerrymandering.
Yeah.
He's separating the Black communities so they have less to almost no voice.
Right.
In the entire state.
He actually did that. He did that for one specific district. And it looks like that one district might actually win because they're pissed off about it.
Right. He basically what he did in that state was his legislature sent him redistricted. They did the redistricting. They sent it to him and he vetoed it. And then he strong-armed his legislature into letting him do it all by himself. And that's what he did. He redistricted the entire state. And then he sent it to the legislature, which rubber stamped it. So this kind of shit, the fact that it's happening in public like this and in real time, it should be enraging people in this country. It really should. This isn't, it's not just happening in Florida, just in case people don't understand this. They're doing this in other states as well.
All right. So this is the Democratic response. I want people to understand this. This shouldn't just be the Democratic response.
It should be the
if you're it should be everybody. If you're an independent, a green, whoever the hell you are, you should be furious about this. And whatever you need to do to change this right now, be realistic thing is you have to vote the Republicans out. Period. That's all. That's the only thing you can do. And yes, you might, oh, that means voting a Democrat. Oh, you're blue no matter who. You have to vote for the Democrats right now.
Well,
You have to.
let me just say this. If you get a problem with that vote blue no matter who shit, let me just tell you what you're staring down right now. You either have a choice. We have a Republican Party and we have a Democratic Party in this country. And I firmly believe in the two-party system. I think there needs to be some kind of, so that everybody gets something, okay? But I also believe this. I also believe that everybody has to have the same fundamental rights, and those rights cannot be touched. They cannot be touched through legislation. They cannot be touched by the Supreme Court. So that needs to be a whole process that gets discussed. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is you have fascism or democracy. GOP, fascism. Democrats, democracy. And we can safely say now that the two parties are fucking not the same. Anybody who's saying that is living in La La Land, the La La Land of 2008 to 2016. Those days are totally gone. We have seditionists and traitors running for office, and we already have 147 of them sitting in office. You've got a choice here. You make your choice, okay? You either remain on the sidelines with this, I don't want to vote for a Democrat bullshit, or then you can stop fucking complaining, because if you're not going to participate and this country falls into fascism, you're not going to be able to complain anyway. So get a clue.
Now I'm going to talk this one article. I'm going to talk about this more next week. And obviously this is a sore subject with Deb in terms of the LGBTQ rights with the transgenders in school issue. Right now, and I am embarrassed by my home state. I'm from Virginia. Right now you have Glenn Youngkin, who is a right-wing Republican dirtbag, who from one side of his mouth is talking about equality and the civil rights of everyone in his state, and in the other, except for these people. We're not going to recognize them. We're not going to recognize their gender. We're not going to recognize that they can go to the bathroom that they designate. We're not going to blah, 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 blah. We're not going to talk about them. We're going to deny them the right to be called by the gender of their choice, etc. So this is the Washington Post article. Hannah Nathanson, Virginia policy, latest attempt to restrict rights of transgender students.
He's disgusting. He's just beyond the pale.
Guidelines released Friday placed Virginia at the heart of a national battle over how transgender children should be treated at school, as well as if and how much parents should be told about gender transitions that begin there. So.
I have to say this. I'm going to just say it. I fucking hate the Republican Party. I see absolutely no redeeming. I see nothing redeeming in this party whatsoever. Nothing. Honestly, I absolutely see no way to turn this particular party around. I think it will take decades. I don't think it's going to be as simple as a few cycles. I really don't.
No, I don't either. I think that honestly what it's going to take, in my humble opinion, is sheer dominance by the Democratic Party to pull these guys out of the muck into at least basic human rights and recognition that everybody should be treated equally.
And let me just say this: out of 535 House seats that are up for re-election in November, out of those candidates, 199 of those candidates are election deniers. And I'm going to tell you where that's going to take you in the future. Every single election that they lose, they're gonna quibble over. I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to refuse to concede.
Now, okay, the new model policy is a version which must be adopted by all the state's 133 school districts next month, will require transgender students to access school facilities and programs matching the sex they were assigned at birth. So what that means is not only bathrooms, but they have to be in boys' gym programs, or if they're, playing sports, they have to play with the boys if they're a boy, at birth, that kind of stuff. The policies also make it onerous for students to change their name and gender at school.
God, just can't. I really can't.
So, one Democrat is already alleging the guidelines violate the Virginia Human Rights Act, which protects individuals in public settings, including schools, from discrimination on the basis of gender identity. And where do you think this is going to go?
What?
This is going to go to the Supreme Court
Yeah,
eventually. Which is why I'm saying we need a sane Supreme Court, or a saner, which is why I'm saying we need to push for 2, in my humble opinion.
I agree.
And then whatever happens, happens. Donald Trump stacked the court. We are looking to balance it. There's one more thing that I want to mention, and I want to give a shout out to somebody, actually. Amy Trommel, who is a fantastic contributor on our channels, on our Facebook. She gives us information over and over again. I wanted to shout her out and give a suggestion if she can take a look at this candidate, if she hasn't already, as well as every other person, especially those who live in Ohio. And I think Deb knows who I'm going to be talking about.
Yep.
Jim Oberfeld. If anybody remembers, he was at the center of a Supreme Court gay marriage case.
He was the man.
He was the guy.
He was the guy.
Some people underestimated me in my fight for marriage equality, and that was a mistake. Now,
He's running.
he's running. You're going to say he's a one-issue candidate. He isn't.
No, he's not.
Okay. He's not only for gay marriage rights, he's for abortion rights, and he's for contraception rights, and he's for all of this other stuff. And do you know why? Because gay marriage was won in the Supreme Court on the same principle as everything else.
Right.
Number one. And number two, he is a minority, so he's going to fight for other minorities. Just so you know. I don't know who he's running against, but I'm telling you, you can't go wrong with this gentleman. You can't. So
I'll tell you who he's running against. I had the guy's name a couple of days ago and I forgot it.
do you know anything about him?
Who do I know anything about the guy he's running against?
Yeah.
I have a feeling he's a Trump guy.
I'll do a quick search on him.
I'm doing that on my phone too. So
Oh, what's his name?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
He is running Ohio House District 89. He's running in
Right.
that district. Let's see who he's running against. He ran unopposed in the primary.
Correct.
He will be running against second-term Republican DJ Swearingen, an
Right.
attorney who was focused campaign on kitchen table issues.
And I don't, before anybody says anything, I don't believe that this person is related to Paula Jean, but I could be wrong. Paula Jean Swearingen ran against Joe Manchin in the Democratic primary a while back in West Virginia.
Right.
So, okay. So here you go. There's that guy. He looks like your typical Republican guy. Oh, there we go. There we go. Swearingen to introduce Parents' Bill of
here we
Rights
go.
Act.
Yeah.
which
No,
will
but-
protect and preserve the fundamental role that parents play in the education of their children. I might have to.
All that
Yeah.
says to me is, we don't want anybody indoctrinating our children. But
Ex-
not that this was ever a problem, just like getting a vaccine wasn't a problem, just like, public health wasn't a problem, just like Anthony Fauci wasn't an evil man, even though he's been in serving, literally serving on both sides of the aisle for years now in office. And while these people have been in office, he's never been a problem. None of this stuff was ever a problem until Donald Trump. I tell you, it's amazing. Now public health is oppression. Okay.
Right.
I mean, give me a fucking break. Okay. I've about had it up to fucking here with this shit. I really have. I'm about ready to fucking explode at any moment. It's like, I can't even anymore. I just can't. And then let me just say something about Laverne Spicer on Twitter. She's a fucking blithering idiot. I believe she lost her race, right?
Okay.
She put a tweet out there. You're never going to hear me using pronouns. Well, you just did, asshole. You just did. Okay. I just can't anymore. I can't.
They use. I swear to God, didn't Lauren Boebert say they use pronouns we do not?
Yeah.
No, these are people that talk about Jewish space lasers and
Right.
and trans people are taking her tampons. I can't.
I just can't anymore.
They're just so dumb. They're just
Wait.
so
But the
dumb.
scary thing is that there are fucking people who listen to them and believe
Yeah.
them.
Oh
And
God.
then those people go out and do bomb threats to children's hospitals. They make up lies to manipulate people into hurting children.
Right.
And that's who
Right.
people like Lauren Boebert are and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Their lust for power, they'll hurt anybody.
It's
Deb.
amazing.
No, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's fucking kicking activists, kicking them.
And
Well,
it was
she-
obvious what she was doing too.
Yeah, she was scuffing the back of her shoe because she was in the way. That was part of our short show. That it wasn't really that. And the activist said, you know what, that wasn't really the big deal. The big deal was that she was calling for arming parents in schools.
Yeah.
And I have a resource in there, that shows that there, in the past 5 years, it's like on average about 20 incidents a year where somebody could get seriously hurt by an adult mishandling a gun. Now, I am going to be a radical left winger for a minute, and I'm going to use my unisex bathroom in my house because my wife uses it too. I will be right back.
I'm going to shut down the recording just so you know we're done. We're
Okay,
done.
guys, we're going to have a post show, but I'm going to be a radical left winger. I'm going to a unisex bathroom. I'm just letting you know. I'll see you next week.